Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jackie Weatherall and I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the City of Greater Dandenong. Before tonight's meeting starts, I'm just going to outline Council's governance rules for the audience. Council meetings, making them a safe place for everyone. During the Council meeting, members of the public cannot address the meeting outside of public question time, must not interject or act defensively, must remain seated, must switch your mobile phones to mute, must not operate any recording device, audio and or visual without obtaining the consent from the Chief Executive Officer at least 3 days prior to the Council meeting, and can display placards or posters provided they're not offensive, do not obstruct entrances and exits to the chamber or impede any view or person. Treat councillors, staff and community members with courtesy and respect. Thank you. So I just remind everyone again about their mobile phones and we'll start the meeting shortly. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our ordinary council meeting, Monday, the 15th of June, 2026. Item 1.1, opening of meeting. 1.2, attendance. Ms. Weddle, do we have any apologies this evening?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we've got apologies this evening from Councillor Lloyd Trung and Councillor Jim Mehmeti. I also seek to advise that Councillor Sean O'Reilly is online and Councillor Isabella Doe has advised she will be coming online, but she hasn't arrived as yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Reilly, can you hear us? Thanks. Item
yes, I can.
Thank you. Item 1.3, acknowledgement of traditional custodians of land. Those who wish to stand for the acknowledgement to country are welcome to do so. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Bunurong people, and pay respect to the elders, past and present. We recognise and respect their continuing connections to climate, culture, country, and waters. And we also pay our respects and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and the elders present here today in acknowledging their journey. Please be seated. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome the City of Greater Dandenong young leaders who have joined us in the gallery this evening. Thank you for being here and showing such strong interest in the work of Council and what happens in this chamber. Your curiosity, engagement and commitment to your community are truly engaging, and very pleased to have you as you are here tonight. Firstly, I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Mr. Peter McCall, OAM, the former mayor of Springvale, who passed away in April at the age of 83. Peter was deeply connected to our community. Having grown up in Noble Park and Dandenong and dedicating much of his life in public service and local courses. So he attended Dandenong High School and worked across the meat industry, Victoria Police, and later in security and in business. Peter served as a City of Springvale councillor from 1979 to 1988, including as mayor in 1984 to 1985, and later as a councillor and deputy mayor at City of Monash, concluding his services in 2006. His commitment to the community extended well beyond his time in elected office. Peter gave generously to CAF, Rotary and Lions, supported many charitable organisations, and was a strong advocate for mental health as Beyond Blue ambassador. Peter believed in community, giving back, and the value of his hard work. He was known for his generosity, his energy, and his genuine care for others, making a positive difference and leaving a lasting impression on those around him. So on behalf of Council, we extend our sincerely condolences to Peter's family and his loved ones, and we honor his significant contribution to our city. Now for 1.4, offering a prayer, reflection or affirmation. If you wish to stand, please do. In recognition of diversity of beliefs, cultures, and perspectives with our community, this evening prayer will be offered by Venerable Bodhicitta Buddhist Faith from the Danong Interfaith Network. Thanks. Please welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and the councillors, and the Chief Executive Officer, and the members of the staff and the management. Thank you for giving the opportunity. So today, you're all going to be talking some very important matters. So it's very important for us to ground ourselves in the moment so we can have clarity and we can serve and make decisions, the best decision, and serve our community the best way. So let's take a few minutes to reflect why we are here and how we can do the best. Let's take a few deep breaths. Take a deep breath in, breathe out, just relax. Just relax. Buddha is giving a very nice example how we can lead by example. Buddha says, be like a mother. Mother will never do any harm consciously to her own child. Mothers only will do the best. A mother with healthy mind will only do their best for their children because that's what's in their heart. So Buddha says, develop that loving kindness and compassion towards all living beings. So if we take everyone as our children, our own child, things will never go wrong because we'll never do anything wrong to our child. So that scripture goes like this. Naparo parang niku beta nyati manyeta katn chinang kanchi Vyarosana patiga sanya Nyanya manyasa dukka mitchaya Mata yatanyang putang Ayusaika putta manuraki Ivampi sambhabhutesu Mana sambhavayi aparimanang Mittancha sambhalokasmin Mana sambhavayi aparimanang Sabbhi sattha Bhavantu sukhi tattha. So let us take a minute to cultivate this boundless loving kindness, compassion towards everyone in this room and beyond the city of Greater Dandenong. Let's wish, may all beings to be well, comfortable, peaceful and happy. May you all be well and happy. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable. Okay, now we're going to go to next item, item 1.5, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings.
Happy to move it, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor
Second,
Mikovich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 1.6, disclosures of interest. Ms. Verrill, any disclosure of interest?
Thank you, Mayor. No disclosures of interest have been registered with me for this evening's meeting. Thank you.
We also want to acknowledge that Councillor Isabella Doe is also online. Item 2, Officers' Reports, Part 1, 2.1, Petitions and Joint Letters. 2.1.1, Petitions and Joint Letters. Any mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder?
Happy to second that.
Seconded by Councillor Formosa. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 2.2, statutory planning applications. 2.2.1, planning delegate decision issued May 2026.
Happy to move it, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Mikovich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dans. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 3, public question time. Question time at council meetings provide an opportunity for members of the public in the gallery to address questions to the councillors, delegates, or officer of the City of Greater Dandenong City Council. Questions must comply with S.4.5.8 of Council's governance rules. Ms. Verrill?
Thank you, Mayor. And our first question this evening is from Braden of Dandenong, and it's concerning parliamentary representation. Would Braden like to come up to the microphone, please, and present a question to the councillors? Is Braden here? No. If Braden's not here, I'll read the question out. Mayor, will our local parliamentary representatives call for an inquiry into state government corruption on the big build? If not, may you state your reasons. Can I ask Marjan Hajari, Executive Director, Strategy and Corporate Services, to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. Council acknowledged the concerns you have raised regarding the possibility of a public inquiry into state government matters. We appreciate you taking the time to bring this issue forward and recognize the importance of transparency and accountability in the decision-making that affect the community. While we understand the seriousness of your concern, it is important to clarify that local government does not have the legislative authority to initiate or call for public inquiries into state government projects or allegations of corruption. Matters of this nature fall within the jurisdictions of state-level oversight and integrity bodies, including the independent broad-based anti-corruption commissioners, which is called as IBAC, whose primary focus is to examine and investigate such matters. Council remains committed to its responsibility under the Local Government Act 2020, including representing the interests of the community and advocating on matters that impact our municipality. If you wish to pursue this matter further, you may consider contacting IBAC or your local state member of parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next question is from Terry Wilkinson of Keysborough. If Terry would like to come up to the microphone to present on the wellness project costs and squash facility demolition. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Just concerns over the squash courts and our fight to hopefully keep these squash courts running. Considering the cost of this new wellness facility ballooned to over $122 million and requires taking on massive debt, how can the council claim the community is financially and socially better off when this expenditure is actively reducing community sporting amenities?
Mr Wilkinson, I suggest you read all three questions and then the officer will answer them. Thank you.
Just about to get to the next one, yep. Given that leading global health evaluations, including a major study by Forbes magazine, have officially named squash the single healthiest sport in the world for cardiorespiratory endurance, calorie burn and low injury risk, why is council choosing to permanently destroy a rare public health asset like the Dandenong Oasis squash courts rather than protecting and promoting it as the ultimate weapon against local obesity, cardiovascular illness and senior citizen isolation? And participation rates at the Oasis courts are reported by council to have declined. But this facility has suffered from years of zero marketing, poor maintenance and zero council initiative. Instead of choosing demolition, why hasn't council management actively worked with Squash and Racquetball Victoria to implement low-cost, multi-use model, opening the courts to racquetball, yoga, aerobics during off-peak hours to easily generate the missing revenue? These squash courts mean a whole lot more to this community than budget holes and deadlines. We need these courts for our mental health and fitness and social interaction. We're not asking the council to build anything new. We are just begging you to just keep what we already have. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. Could I please ask Peter Gillies, Executive Director, Community Strengthening, to respond? Thanks.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Terry, so much for coming tonight. We've also got our young leaders in the room, so you're a fantastic example of advocacy at its best. So great for them to see that. As we've shared, the new facility has been shaped over a number of years, going right back to 2019. There was input from more than 2,400 members of the community, including some squash members. We had about 5 submissions at the time from squash members. Overall, though, it was a very small number in comparison to the broader feedback that we got from the community about user needs, both at the time and forward-looking. Council subsequently, as part of the aquatic strategy, did make the decision not to include squash courts in the new facility, and that is what officers are currently implementing. Tonight you'll see there's a report for council to consider. Essentially, any change decision from council requires council to make a new decision, so that would direct officers to change the direction. That's item 4.4.4 on tonight's agenda. And essentially, if council determines that it will proceed with undertaking a feasibility assessment to see what either retaining those courts or retaining the site in its entirety, so that council could assess what the potential costs, both capital and operational, would be in making such a decision. So that's a report before council tonight. In terms of the broader questions about participation that you've just shared there, again, the decision was made quite some time ago. So now the decision in front of council is whether to change that direction, and if so, officers can certainly implement that. In terms of your third question relating to council not having promoted squash as a core activity, I guess the rationale behind that is probably that, given the decision was made not to continue with squash courts, resource and energy has gone into promoting other activities since then. But certainly, as I mentioned tonight, councillors will consider, do they want to revise their decision, and officers will implement based on that decision.
Thank you, Peter. Ms. Vettel?
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question is from Colin Smith of Dandenong South, and he's not here this evening, as I understand it. So I'll read out Colin's question for him, and it concerns Fowler Road, Dandenong and line marking. Could you please confirm whether Council formally recommended to the level crossing removal project the proposed road line marking changes, specifically the removal of the 1 metre inset line proposed to protect vulnerable cyclists, and if so, on what date the recommendation was made, who within Council authorised or endorsed it, what specific changes were recommended, what traffic engineering, safety or community consultation evidence supported the recommendation, and whether Council has any written correspondence, reports, meeting minutes or emails relating to the recommendation. We ask because there appears to be conflicting information regarding who initiated the line marking changes, and clarification of Council's role would assist in ensuring the public record is accurate. Thank you for your question, Colin. I'll ask Mr Manavasa Gasavam, Executive Director, City Futures, to respond, please.
Through you, Mayor, thank you for the question, Colin. Council officers were provided an opportunity to comment on the draft line marking plans for Fowler Road in late 2024. The intent of the line marking was to reduce vehicle speeds and separate vehicles from pedestrian movements. On-road cycle facilities were not discussed. Council officers provided consent for the line marking at this time following some minor changes based on Council officers' feedback, and an independent safety audit was provided. Any community members who have feedback or interest in the Progress Street level crossing removal project are encouraged to contact Council officers via our customer service centres. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question is from Suleiman of Dandenong. And I don't believe that Suleiman is here, so I will read out the question. It concerns squash court retention and multi-sport use. Question 1. Can the squash court be available alongside the table tennis? These facilities are important for the community. Question 2. Has consideration been given to retaining the squash courts and converting them into multi-purpose courts for squash, badminton and pickleball to better serve the community's needs? Can I ask Ms Gillies, Executive Director, Community Strengthening, to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Suleiman, for your question. Certainly, Council does acknowledge the community interest in retaining the existing squash courts or potentially part of the current Dandenong Oasis when the Dandenong Wellbeing Centre opens. We do recognise that these squash courts are valued, and as a result, Council is considering this matter as part of tonight's agenda at item 4.4.4. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next question.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next question is from Nimbris of Umemering, and again it concerns squash court retention. I'm assuming Nimbris is not here? Nope. Will the squash courts be retained? As the table tennis facilities are going to remain, I believe the squash facilities should also be maintained as they're just behind the table tennis facility. This is the only squash court facility available in the area. These facilities are important to the community and are valued by many local residents. Retaining the squash courts would help preserve an accessible recreational space that promotes health, wellbeing and social connection for people of all ages. I strongly encourage the retention of the squash facilities as part of any future plans for the site. Can I ask Ms Gillies, Executive Director, Community Strengthening, to respond, please?
Through you, Mayor. Thank you, Nibris, for your feedback. As previously mentioned, councillors will be considering this as part of item 4.4 this evening, and any decision of council will be implemented by officers. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And our last question is from Mark Powell of Dandenong North. Mark, are you here? Yes, would you like to get up and ask your question, please?
Hello. My question is what's happening with the vehicles parked in Prospect Hill Crescent, North Dandenong, from our number one hoarder? I think most councillors would know what we're talking about.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mark. Yes, we are aware of the property and also the number of vehicles parked. Since they are registered vehicle, we are working through with the owner on that matter, and also after tonight as well, I'm happy to get the traffic engineers to inspect that property as well.
Okay, I'm quite happy to have a meeting with yourself and a couple of other councillors, if you like, to vent my questions. It's becoming a bit of a joke. I was here 18 months ago in December. I was given an answer. 11th of June last year, you started to clean the property up. Within 3 weeks of cleaning it up, he brought 4 vehicles back. He now has 3 trailers, 2 trucks in Prospect Hill Crescent, a trailer and a truck and a ute in Briarhurst Avenue. He doesn't believe yous.
We are happy to set up a separate time to have a discussion. There's a long legal process we go through with that property. Happy to discuss further.
And as of this afternoon, the vehicles are unregistered. The permit he has is out of date, finished on the 9th of June. So what can we do?
Through you, Mayor, Mr Powell, the officers answered the question, but we're very happy to meet with you at the end of the meeting and talk to you through the issues. We understand the complexity with this particular property. Officers have worked very hard, taken this matter through the courts, and again we will proceed to take the matter through the courts. And we hear you and understand the frustration for neighbours.
Well, I watched council members take pictures 5 weeks ago. Nothing gets said to the members of that area. Nothing is given back in feedback to us.
Because as the officer just mentioned to you, well, we can arrange a meeting and we can meet with you and discuss this further.
Right.
But you want to read your question too, Mark?
The question 2 is, I'm talking to Jackie this time, sorry, the dog. 18 months ago, I was told you could handle the dog because it's unregistered and unleashed. The dog is still unregistered and unleashed. Please.
Mr Powell, we hear you and I empathise with you in regards to this property and the challenges that you're having, so I'm more than happy at the end of tonight's meeting to have a chat to you with Sanjay and we'll get some further details, and we can also talk about how we can better communicate with you and other neighbours while maintaining confidentiality.
Because I can tell you some answers that he's given back to me that would curl your hair. So I want the meeting.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, we
we
can arrange the
understand, Mr.
meeting.
Powell. Thank you, and
Thank
thanks
you.
for bringing
Thank
it
you
to
so
our
much.
attention again.
Thanks for the question. Ms. Vettel, do you have any question taken on notice from last council meeting?
Yes, we do, Mayor, and I'll give them to you now.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we're going to go to item 4, Officers' Reports, Part 2, 4.1, Procurement, 4.1.1, Animal Pound Contract. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrard.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 questions. Do you want me to read them consecutively? Yeah. My first question is that given there was only one conforming tender and the preferred long-term arrangement will not proceed, the council now faces a budget increase of around $736,000. Does this indicate the council had very limited negotiating power and was effectively forced to accept the terms in order to maintain our statutory obligation? Question 1. Second one is, given the proposed annual cost has increased by 68% and is not capped, what is the possible liability, financial liability, we may incur over the lifetime of this contract? And lastly, what is the specific reason for the increase is not listed in the item? Which service components are driving the additional cost?
Thank you, Councillor Garrard. Could I please get Mini Vagasaswam to respond?
Yeah, through Mayor, thank you for the questions. Yes, so it is, it's only when we gone through the public tender process, we only received one submission. So that's the challenge with the market, and also council required to provide that service at a statutory requirement. So that's why we have negotiated this tender extension. But in saying that, Council is looking at number of other options to minimize our financial risks, and also we will look at temporary facilities, and also we will look at any other opportunities we can do to minimize animals going to this facility. So that means we can monitor the 12-month expenditure over the next couple of months. And also, the main reason for this increase is the number of cats we impound in Dandenong, which is significantly higher than any other municipalities, and that's where this the price increase gone up, because managing cat facilities is quite an expensive process for anyone. So that's the challenge. So that's one of the things we have to look at. What are the other options? So this actually gives us to explore options to come up with different solutions over the next 18 months.
Thank you. Any further
Just
questions?
a follow-up question. So over the next the life of this is 1 year, is that correct? So you're exploring over 18 months,
18
so
months.
there'll be a gap. So you will likely need to renew this for another year after that?
No, this is for the 18 months time period.
Oh, okay. You've extended 18 months. Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Merkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Where would be the next closest animal pond facility be located for us to utilise, possibly?
I need to take that on. I don't think so it's anything close by. I think the next is council-run facilities in somewhere in closer to Melbourne or the north of Melbourne.
Have the officers maybe explored the possibility in the future that the council runs its own facility, and so we're not left exposed to exorbitant fees and extortion by a single operator within our municipality or within our area?
Thank you, councillors. Through you, Mayor. Yes, that's one of the options we are considering. We'll provide you briefing with the councillors at the end of the year with a number of options.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Now we're going to go to 4.1.2, receipt of commingled recyclables contract extensions. Is there a mover, please?
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any seconder here? I would need a seconder, please. Councillor Yim.
Happy to second.
Seconded by Councillor Yim already. Thank you, Councillor Riley. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a number of questions. The first is that the report says there are no legal risks or implications with this contract, and there were no significant incidents with this particular contractor. However, the EPA records show that there was in fact a call out by the EPA in February in 2024 for a serious fire incidents risk, and there were a number of compliance and enforceable actions taken around that. So my first question was that taken into consideration in the evaluation of this contract? The second component is that we are asked to approve a $2 million contract. However, we are provided with no recovery percentages, no contamination percentages, no landfill diversion rates, no benchmarking against other councils, no comparison with alternate providers. So my question is, why have we not been provided with that data? Why is there only one provider that has been considered and it has not gone out to tender? And has any performance indicators been built into this $2 million contract?
Thank you, Councillor Garrett, for your question. Could I please get Mr. Manifikasa to respond?
Yeah, through Mayor, just to confirm that this is not a new contract. This is an extension to the old contract. Back in 2024, Council gone through the public tender process to appoint this provider, and also this is the first extension of that contract. And also we do have all those informations. We haven't provided in this report, but happy to provide that to councillors after that. So we capture those informations, and also part of our assessment, we look at all the risk for the councils, and some of those risks, like yes, EPA has fined them on that business. That's up to the businesses to manage that, and we purely look at what's the risk for councils and also how we can work closely with them. This is a local business, and also they have invested a lot in their the local facility to improve their process, and also their KPIs all are met as per our contract, and that's the recommendation for us to extend the contract for another 12 months.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Just a follow-up question. Why did the officers not provide us with that information? Did they not consider that would be important in our consideration of this $2 million contract?
Through you, Mayor, as Mr Manavasagasavam said, this is actually an extension of an existing contract, and our normal protocol is to provide the information like this. Mr Manavasagasavam, did you want to add anything extra to that?
No. So any new contracts, yes, we will provide that, and how the new contractor is going to manage that. Those informations provided previously, but I'm happy to provide the current information as required, and also this. So any request for any information, we are happy to provide that. Yeah.
Councillor Gara?
I thank the officer for providing that. However, I would say, even though it's an extension, the extension was made in lieu of another contractor providing that service, and so it's still important for us to know that even though it's 1 year extension, it's still $2 million, and it's important for us to have that information always, I would suggest. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 4.2, Policy and Strategy. 4.2.1, Review of Council Policies, Policies for Obligation. So that Council abolished the following policies attached to this report, and that's including Healthy Eating Policy, Alcohol Management Policy. 2 notes that policies are now superfluous to the Council's needs, so I would need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder, please? Second by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition. The item is carried. Item 4.2.2, Curbside Waste Collection Service. Moved by Councillor Garrard. Are there any? Seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Any question, Councillor Garrard?
Thank you, Mayor. To the appropriate officer, is it correct that the state government, in relation to the glass bin, the implementation of the glass bin, is it correct to say that their expectation is we will implement this glass bin even though they have not provided any public business case, no final service standards, no proven cost benefit analysis, no proof it outperforms the current CDS program, no clear implementation framework, no certainty on the final operating costs, no funding commitment for ongoing costs, no consideration of storage for households, no solution for apartments and high-density housing, no justification for imposing another bin on every household, no transparency on how success will be measured, no evidence that residents want this service, and no regard for the current cost of living pressures. Is that correct?
Mr. Manivagasa.
Through you, Mayor, yes, we are closely working with state government to get all those information. So far, we haven't received all the information, but that's where we are proposing. Our recommendation is to defer this implementation, which gives us enough time to work with state government to get more information, and also advocate for getting further the business case information to us, so then we can assess that whether it's necessary or not.
Thank you. And so my second question is, if it is good governance and good financial management to defer this item, is the council likely to be fined over $100,000 or approximately $100,000 perhaps on multiple occasions, we're not sure. So are we likely to be fined and penalised for good governance and financial prudence?
Through you, Mayor, I won't be able to sort of give a definite answer because it's up to the state government and department to enforce that policy. But however, there's a risk for the council from the 1st of July next year. If you don't implement this under the legislation, yes, the state government can fine us up to 100,000 a number of times.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions on this? No. Is there any opposition?
Yeah, I'm going to oppose.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to the mover, please. Do you want to speak? Yeah. Did you move it? Yeah.
5 minutes. Am I able to ask is the glass bin deferral?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to go into my reasonings for opposing this. My view of this is that it should be implemented as per the original.
So it's a
plan.
glass bin.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you. The glass bin proposal will cost us up to $3 million to establish and $1.5 million per year. On average, the average person generates 2 jam jars and a bottle of wine or a bottle of something else per household. And yet we are being told, not asked, that every household in Dandenong must have a glass bin. So we must have 4 bins now, which creates enormous problems for houses, and particularly apartments that do not have space, even for the 3 existing bins we have. So now we have to have a 4th bin. We have to ask residents who are under extreme financial pressure to pay more money, we don't know yet how much, on their waste bin, in a time where residents are under significant financial cost of living pressure. But probably the most important point is the government has actually implemented a fantastic program, which is the CDS program, where residents return glass bottles to the CDS program and get a return of 10 cents. That is the most successful program this state government has implemented in Dandenong in my 6 years here. It has successfully diverted 70% of all glass generated in the city of Greater Dandenong. It is phenomenally successful, all bottles, I beg your pardon. What we're asking is they reassess to also incorporate glass into that system. It would be a small thing, so that we're taking our bottles and our glass to one deposit centre, and all of that is dealt with at once. Very simple. People are using, if you go to one of our deposit centres here in Dandenong, you might have to wait 1 or 2 hours to actually be able to put your bottles into the deposit scheme, because it's so successful. There are people lined up with bags and bags and bags, and people are combing the bins of our city to find bottles to put into that deposit scheme, because they're collecting money for charities and for other causes. It's very successful. No one wants a glass bin. No one wants another bin. No one wants to have to find a place for another bin. No one wants to have to remember to put it out once a month. Nobody wants the hassle and the cost of a bin that is largely superfluous. The state government implemented this legislation, I think, around 5 to 6 years ago. Then they implemented the highly successful deposit scheme. They could not have imagined how successful perhaps that scheme was going to be. So now they need to reconsider. They need to reconsider this strategy and look at extending and reviewing the container deposit scheme so that we can implement glass. That is the best solution. That is the best solution for us all. Otherwise, as a council, we have to buy all the bins at $3 million. We have to contract out the service, which is another $1.5 million. We have to have people have the hassle of yet another bin to manage when they may fill that much of it. at the bottom of their bin. People are struggling now to actually fill their yellow recycling bin because all their bottles are going into the container deposit scheme, which is raising fantastic funds for our community services. So it is madness. It is absolutely madness for us to have to comply and be forced to comply and to be fined for complying when this is no longer a good idea. This is no longer the best solution. This is not what the residents want. So we are asking them to reconsider what is now a bad idea and to extend what is a good idea, their container deposit scheme. This is a very, very popular
30 seconds, Councillor Garrett.
decision, and we're simply asking the state government to reverse what is a very bad decision.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Mirkovic.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may add to Councillor Garrard's comments, a little bit of a background as to what happens normally in the City of Greater Dandenong is that once you introduce or want to implement any kind of recycling scheme, you should really be very sure that if it comes at a great cost to the resident, it actually provides a great benefit to the resident as well. Unfortunately, the issues that we have on top of the cost of living nowadays, the actual space where you need to store this particular bin, particularly in the apartments in central Dandenong is the perfect example where there's bins lined up on a pickup day all along the street with kids knocking them over, wind knocking them over, etc. Is actually how do we control what goes into the bins? Because we are at the moment in a situation where a good percentage of our recycling actually goes to landfill because of the contamination of the actual waste. So to add yet another bin that is supposed to help the recycling and the environment only to be contaminated and then carted to the landfill is not helping anyone. As Councillor Garrard mentioned previously, container deposit scheme, fantastic idea. I think the best idea Labor government ever had in its existence, if I may add to that, and taken up by a huge number of people, genuinely making our streets cleaner and safer by diverting the items from the landfill into the recycling facility, clean, untouched, nothing contaminated. So what I'd like to add is that really we like Councillor Garrard said, we're not asking for this not to be implemented. It's to defer because this program was introduced and proposed some number of years ago when there was no alternative to the matter. Now there is a very good functioning alternative to the matter in a container deposit scheme. Why double bill the residents or bill them some more for something that might not have any effect whatsoever, and on top of that would maybe even provide a greater contamination of the bins that get carted to the landfill? CDS is a fantastic initiative, fantastic implementation. It works. It is cut above everything else, including the recycling of household, yellow bins and etc. So all we're saying is that before we introduce this cost to our residents, before we implement this scheme, have a rethink. Let's see what the other councils, and there's a number of councils in Victoria that have expressed their dissatisfaction with this for practical reasons, not just cost reasons. Let's just wait and see if they can come up with a slightly better solution, like Councillor Garrard said, maybe expand the CDS, and see that we can maybe not introduce this bin in the future because of the other schemes available at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. In opposition, Deputy Mayor Dan.
Thanks very much, Mayor. Look, I suspect I will be the minority voice on this issue, but I think something as important as waste collection is too big to go without voicing my opposition to it and the reasons why I have made my decision. And I think that the arguments that were brought forward tonight are very reasonable, but I just happen to disagree with the end result. So I think just to step back a little bit, at an October meeting last year, all the councillors present voted to unanimously support the implementation of the curbside glass bin service in Greater Dandenong. And we understood then, as we understood and we understand now, that this is effectively a mandatory policy imposed on local councils with a rollout required by July next year. And the jury is still out as to whether what every single council plans to do going forward. Now, of course, circumstances change, and I appreciate that we have to have this discussion again. But I'm voting against this item tonight, not because I necessarily disagree with the recommendation. I actually think, as an alternative proposal, it's not that bad of an idea, but I just think that the original plan to implement that we decided on last year is better. The original plan that we agreed on, in my opinion, is better because it enabled us to look at the bigger picture. It allowed us to zoom out and plan for the long term, and not just in years, but in decades to come, especially for something as important as how our waste is managed. In short, my argument can be summarised in one line. It's that the cost of our inaction today will be even more expensive for our residents tomorrow. Local councils have limited powers in the grand scheme of things, and we can only do so much. So we have to find opportunities where that is available, where we can be pragmatic and contribute to solutions that currently exist. And one of the biggest long-term issues we face as a council is what do we do with our waste, especially in the years to come as our landfill capacity runs out. So we have several choices here. We can open another landfill. We can move further towards waste to energy, which has been hotly debated in this chamber in the past. We can continue to lecture people about using less, or we can go for the option that makes it easier for people to recycle. Of those options, in my opinion, I think we should go with the latter option and make it easier for people to recycle. We all understand that the purple bin is about glass. I get that, but the point is separating glass reduces contamination. That's the whole point of the purple bins. When glass goes into mixed recycling, it breaks and it shatters. It contaminates the load, and often the whole thing just ends up in landfill anyway. And as a result of that, the whole process just gets even more expensive without anyone realising it. Our residents are already doing their best without the often, patronising platitudes about using less or that they should do better to recycle their waste. But our job is to come up with the solutions, and in my view, there is a clear and ready solution focused on making the system better available to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have other speakers? So Councillor Riley, you put your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll speak in support of the motion. I think it is wise and diligent to defer or wait so that we can continue to evaluate the cost versus the benefit. Notable thing is around half of Victorian councils have expressed an intent to not implement the glass bins to the straight away, or they're also choosing to at least wait before they implement. There's a few factors that can change. One thing this year is we have a Victorian government election, and occasionally when we have changes in government, that's one possibility. There is also sometimes a change of policy. So council should be thinking of that. I think it is wise and diligent to wait because if we do implement, we are committing residents to an increased waste charge ongoing. So every year they're going to be looking at their rates bill and their waste charge, and it will be up. And it's pretty much unlikely that council would reverse its decision. So that's why it's better to wait. There's also, I think, going to be better separation technology over time. So the technology that allows glass to be separated from other materials. And finally, as a community representative, the feedback I've received from residents in the area say they're not in favour of paying more for a glass bin, and also spoken to residents in council areas that have implemented it, and they say they don't put much glass in. So there's just no point having large trucks driving around, burning fuel, picking up bins that are hardly full. So for all those reasons, Mayor, I'm in support of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dole? You're on mute.
Right, thank you, Mayor. I'm just speaking. I have very similar viewpoints with Deputy Mayor Dan. I would like to note that I know that many of my colleagues probably don't think this, but we do have, Greater Dandenong does probably have one of the probably stronger financial sort of basis in Victoria. And, you know, compared to, you know, 42 out of 79 councils in Victoria have already basically been able to afford to already implement the purple glass bins. I think that's a very strong case that, you know, we already did. And I acknowledge that things have changed since last year, but considering that we unanimously agreed to put it forward last year, I think, you know, it makes, for me, I completely acknowledge the viewpoints of Councillor O'Reilly and Councillor Garrad and Councillor Milkovich. But for me, I do think, you know, I think we need to think about the future and not just what makes sense in the short term. So if that means, and as well, considering that looming deadline, yeah, that just, for me, it makes a bit more sense to, I oppose this one, but thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers for or against? No? Right up to play, the mover, thanks. You've got 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to Councillor Dan and to Councillor Doe for raising their concerns. I would say a couple of things. One of the reasons we unanimously proposed to go ahead with it was because we didn't know we had a choice. A choice wasn't provided to us at that point. We now know 30 councils are now refusing to implement this this now redundant program. So given there is such wide coalition of resistance, it makes sense for us to join them. So the reason we're pushing against it now, and we didn't push against it then, is because we understand now we have a choice. We were not keen to do it last time, but we were not provided with a choice. One of the things that's really important to understand about this bin is that there's no opt-out system. So with our green bin right now, any resident can choose not to have that bin. It's a choice, it's an opt-in system. With this glass bin, you have no choice. It is a state government, Big Brother, just imposing it on us. Every household must have it. Every household must suffer the increased cost, the increased storage headache, and all of the implementation headaches that we know go with this. Councillor Dan talked about saving landfill and preventing contaminated lots of rubbish going to landfill. But the CDS program, as Councillor Milkovich said, it is the best kind of diversion because there is no contamination and it is all being diverted away from landfill. So this is not increasing landfill. Once the CDS program is reviewed, and it will take glass, this is the optimal recycling option, and it will be the best environmental option. So there is no argument that there is an environmental downside to us not implementing the glass bin solution. We are being pragmatic. We are dealing with today. We are dealing with the reality today. The reality is this is no longer relevant. When it was first proposed, the legislation up to 5 years ago, it seemed like a reasonable solution. Subsequently, the success of the deposit scheme means that it is redundant, that the cost, the implementation headaches, all of the issues around it do not justify the means. And again, we've been asked to do this, remember, with no business case, no feasibility information provided, no cost-benefit ratio, no evidence that resident want it, no guarantee that it will actually successfully divert glass. We've been given nothing, no incentives, no information to encourage us to implement this. So we've been asked to implement this in a vacuum of evidence,
27 seconds.
information and outcomes, and it's simply not feasible. It's redundant. Nobody wants it, and we have the right to push back on what is now a foolish and redundant policy. So I ask my fellow councillors to support the deferral.
Thank you. Now I'm going to go to the vote. So for those who are in favour of the motion, please raise your hands. So we've got Councillor Yim, Councillor Garrett, Councillor Formoso, Councillor Lay, Councillor Milkovich, and Councillor Tan. Those against? Oh, sorry, Councillor Sean O'Reilly as well. In favour? Against? Councillor Dan and Councillor Doe. So the motion is passed. Thanks. Right, so we're going to go to the next item. Item 4.2.3, review the diversity, access and equity policy. Is there a mover, please?
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Formoso. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Garrett. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is this policy is an important guide to the Council's approach to diversity, access and equity over the next 4 years. Why are there no measurable targets, no performance indicators and no requirement to publicly report any outcomes? And is it tailored specifically to our community, or is this just a generic policy being imposed on the Dandenong community?
Could I please get Executive Director, Strategy and Corporate Service to respond?
Through you, Mayor.
Martin.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett, for your question. This policy is really, we put it together, we had it in place and it's just updated in the new format and making it a bit easier for understanding, which is incorporating all of our legislative requirements that we had under the Act. In terms of the measure, similar to all of the policies, of course, we have the plans for implementation. The measures, it's depending on with different areas. This is a policy that the different groups from the committee strengthening, from the corporate services, we are all using that. And the implementation of that will be measured in the relative programs and the work we are doing. And that is usually the way that we work through our policies, plus some of the strategies and the things we have in the annual plan. So that is how underlining a foundation of the work, and the implementation, it's how it's incorporated to the other services that we provide.
Sorry, thank you. Any further questions? No? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Item 4.2.4, Fixed Asset Policy 2026 to 27. Moved by Councillor Garrett. Is there a seconder, please?
Happy to second that.
Seconded by Councillor Yim first. Are there any questions, Councillor Garrett?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is around the proposal within this policy to extend the useful life of several asset classes based on condition data and engineering advice. My question is, does this represent good financial management and good environmental practice by avoiding premature replacement of assets, reducing waste and lowering the carbon-associated emissions?
Thank you. Could I please get Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Mark Burke, to respond? Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. Thanks for the question. Yeah, we believe it's contemporary with current expectation of asset lives, and to answer your question, Councillor Garrett, yes, by extending the asset lives does mean less impact in terms of replacement over the longer term. The policy also, most importantly, also reflects regulatory and compliance best practice at the moment as well. So we're bringing the policy up to date.
Any further questions? No? Councillor Mirkovich.
Yeah, just a quick one to relevant officer. What was the extension of the useful life of certain assets based on? Was there like a study undertaken or engineering reports done or anything, or have we just decided that they can keep going on for a little bit longer? Thank you.
Kirsten.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So it was a variety of reasons. Some of it was based on discussions with valuers and benchmarking with other councils, and other bits were to do with recommendations of officers on the field and what they've seen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition, the item is carried. Also, just to let everyone know, Councillor Dell's not well, so she's exited the meeting earlier. Thanks. Right, we're going to go to the next item, which is 4.2.5, adoption of revised Council Plan 2025 to 29 and Annual Action Plan 2026 to 27. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Garrett moves. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. I just want to make a statement for this item. I am pleased to present the Annual Action Plan for 2026 to 27. This plan outlines the significant initiatives that will directly contribute to achieving the Community Vision and Council Plan 2025 to 29 and have a major focus in the budget. There are many important activities planned for next financial year which focus on delivering quality, accessible services to our community. We will be delivering health and well-being initiatives which reduce the harm of alcohol and other drugs, building community resilience through emergency and management tools, strengthening our response to rough sleeping and reviewing our free vaccination programs. We aim to improve the perceptions of community safety through infrastructure upgrades, improved lightings and enhancement of our CCTV network, and will implement the new Community Safety Strategy 2026 to 2030. We will continue our commitment to sustainability and tackling climate change through the implementation of our Bright Green Future strategy, and will implement our 5-year open space plan to improve park facilities across our municipality. Advocacy remains a priority for Council, along with our ongoing partnerships with government, local agencies and other services providers. We will focus on the rights of people seeking asylum and refugees, reducing poverty, affordable housing and improving transport options. We will also be investing in technology improvements, enhancing our customer experience, and developing a financial sustainability strategy to ensure we can continue to deliver long-term sustainable outcomes for Greater Dandenong. With the development of the new council plan in the 2026 to 27, we will also focus on reviewing and developing new strategies to shape our ongoing service delivery, including the children, youth and families, positive ageing, creative and cultural housing, and economy and place strategies. So thank you all to our officers and everyone involved. Thank you. Now we're going to go to item 4.2.6, Privacy and Personal Information Policy. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. My questions relate to the CCTV. Under our Memorandum of Understanding with the police, they can access and monitor and respond to CCTV footage. My question is, who actually monitors our CCTV? Do they monitor it in real time or retrospectively? And is the audit access made public? And does the public get to know who's actually accessed? I have two other questions. Do you want me to put them all together or?
Put them all together if you like.
Put them all together. So the next one is around the council has the right to do covert surveillance with our CCTV cameras, but we don't know who authorises that and what the criteria is around authorisation. So who has the authority to approve covert surveillance? What threshold of evidence is required? And do we, if we have breaches or if there are use of that covert surveillance outside our guidelines, is this monitored and reported? My last question is around why does the policy not require annual public reporting of breaches of access to our CCTV footage, and also the number of requests and complaints by residents surrounding our surveillance system?
Because will be separate questions. Mr. Guzman, do you want to answer the first one first? Or?
Through you, Mayor, I think it's going to be a combination of different officers responding to that question. I can answer a couple, Councillor Garrard, and thank you for your question. It's not monitored live, so we don't have active people actually looking at the system. So the MOU actually establishes that on request, upon request from the police, we will actually provide the evidence that they're seeking, so it's not actually monitored live. Other than that, I think I will probably transfer that over to the Executive Director of Corporate Services.
To you, Mayor, in regarding to what we include and not include, actually this is a legislative requirement based on the Privacy and Data Protection Act 2014, which is the state legislative that we have this policy. So we are following a template and the legislation is that, so we have limited ability to what we include in that particular policy. But when we are, and we had it in place, and it's just the update of that policy in the new format we have. We are following the state legislation under the Act.
Mayor, can I request that I be provided with more detailed response in writing, if take on notice the complete answers? Is that?
Yes, that's fine. So any further questions, other councillors?
Through you, Mayor, Councillor Garrard, also, as part of your questions, you talked about public reporting of any breaches of privacy and personal information. We do provide that information both to the Audit Risk Committee and publicly. We talk about the numbers. We don't obviously breach any privacy.
Thank you. No further questions. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Right, we're going to go to the next one, 4.2.7, Draft Disability Action Plan Endorsement for Consultation. Moved by Councillor Yim, seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? If there's no opposition, the item is carried. So, item 4.3, Finance and Budget. So 4.3.1, adoption of 2026 to 27 budget and long-term financial plan 2027 to 2036. So I recommend that Council adopt the officer recommendation in full, given in the interrelated nature of the recommendations before us. I propose all 7 recommendations be considered and determined as a single motion. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? You can ask questions based on each one as well.
Mayor, just can I clarify, are you doing a procedural motion to create an omnibus vote, or are you actually voting on, taken as given that we are voting in its
Taken as given.
So you're not doing a procedural motion?
No. So we're voting as a whole, but you can ask questions based on specific officer recommendation.
I do have a question on there.
Yep.
Given that we have just successfully voted to defer the glass bin, can you clarify where those funds will now go? It'll be a saving around $3.5 million. Will that just go into general revenue?
So thank you for the question through you, Mayor. So essentially the capital budget has 3.6 million allocated. Those funds, if are not spent, the only impact on the profit and loss would be by holding additional cash that is not spent, that we would earn interest of around $180,000 per annum. The other side of the coin is that there is no charge to residents through the waste. And so there is a saving there, as discussed earlier. In terms of any upside to revenue, there isn't any outside of the interest revenue, but on current interest rates of around 5%, you'd be looking at about $180,000 that stays in the bank. The money that is not spent, we have outlined in the paper, should the council have made the decision to defer, that those funds will be returned to reserves.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Also, I do have a statement for tonight as well for this item. So thank you, everyone. Tonight's item here. So thank you to all the councillors, carefully considered. That's the best for our community for the year ahead. So tonight we have adopted a responsible, balanced and forward-looking budget that continues to invest the future of our city while supporting the needs of our community today. It is the funding commitments behind our annual action plan. We are mindful about cost of living pressures, and we know our community relies on us to keep delivering well-maintained assets and high-quality services. This budget reflects Council's ongoing commitment to delivering those services, as well as the infrastructure and community facilities that our residents rely on. It also demonstrates our confidence in the future of Greater Dandenong as a growing, diverse and ambitious municipality. The budget includes the significant capital works program of more than $105 million. That investment will help strengthen livability, improve local infrastructure, support economic activity, and create opportunities right across our city. At the centre of this investment is the continue to deliver the Oasis Aquatics and Wellbeing, one of the most significant community infrastructure projects ever undertaken by this council. This project represents a once-in-a-generation investment in community health, recreation and well-being. It will provide modern, accessible and inclusive facilities that will serve our community for decades to come and support the needs of our growing population. Importantly, this budget also continues investment in the projects and services people see and use every day. That includes road renewal programs, drainage upgrades, sporting facilities, playgrounds, public safety initiatives, waste and recycling infrastructure, and ongoing improvements at the Dandenong market. We're also investing in community connection and creative through projects such as Dandenong New Art and upgrades to our parks and reserves. We're also providing for great programming across libraries and our popular festivals and events series, and making sure that there's grants funding available to support our many sporting clubs and community organisations in the fantastic work they do. This budget has been developed carefully and responsibly in what remains a challenging economic environment. Like households and businesses, councils continue to face rising costs, inflationary pressures, higher construction expenses, and uncertainty in fuel and energy markets. Those pressures affect both on our day-to-day operations and the cost of delivering major infrastructure projects. Despite these challenges, Council has maintained a balanced operating position while continuing to invest long-term projects that will benefit our community in many years to come. Importantly, Council has applied the Victorian Government's 2.75% rate cap for the 2026 to 27, with the average resident rate increase sitting at 2.11% after revaluation and the differential rates are taken into account. We know many households continue to experience cost of living pressure, and Council remains committed to supporting residents through flexible payment arrangement and hardship support to those doing it tough. We increased our hardship application from last year $500 for one-off now to $750. So I want to thank councillors, council officers, and everyone in the community who contribute feedback throughout the budget process. Community input is an important part of shaping our priorities and ensuring that budget reflects the needs and aspiration of Greater Dandenong. This budget sets up for a great year of work ahead. So thank you everyone involved. So now we're going to go to the next item, which is 4.4.2, Australia Day Awards Review, Awards Category Process. Sorry, did I miss one?
Medium grants.
Sorry, I missed one. So 4.4 others, 4.4.1, Medium Grants Program 2026, Round 1. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrett, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Okay, 4.4.2 Australia Days Awards Review, Awards Category Process.
Happy to move that, Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Formoso, seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions?
Mayor, I would like to make an amendment to this item.
Yes, what is your amendment?
So I would like to amend in Table 1, Section 20, Officer Recommendation. Essentially, it recommends the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor are the only council members of the Selection Committee. I wish to move that to councillors, not just Mayor and Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Is the mover and seconder happy with the amendments?
Yep, happy with that, Mayor.
Happy, yeah. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? So as there's no opposition, the amendments motion is carried. Councillor Garrett?
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to thank my fellow councillors for endorsing that amendment. I think it's very important that we have a selection of councillors on the selection committee. It's important that we have diversity of councillors as well as diversity of community members making the selection. So I thank my fellow councillors.
Thank you. Go to the next item, 4.4.3, Annual Review of Advocacy Priorities and Action Plan. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Garrett.
Happy to second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Next item is 4.4.4, Oasis Squash Courts Cost Estimate to Undertake Feasibility Study.
Mayor, I have an alternate motion.
Yes, Councillor O'Reilly. So what is your alternate motion?
The alternate motion has been circulated to councillors. Do you want me to read it all out or just like the main points, Mayor?
You can just read the main point. It's on the screens right now.
Okay, so the motion in the agenda didn't determine on the feasibility study for the squash courts. So second bullet point from the bottom, my alternate motion determines that officers will not proceed with a feasibility assessment to retain the existing squash courts and or part of the existing facility following the completion of the new centre. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there a seconder?
I will second that alternate.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? Yes, Councillor Garrett. We just need to go to mover first, and then it's Councillor O'Reilly as a mover.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I've read the information, the data, and evidence regarding these squash courts, and I think that rather than council spending tens of thousands of dollars on a report on how keeping the squash courts might be specifically feasible, that is wasted if council is not convinced that keeping the squash courts is generally feasible. So as some might say, oh, it's just a report, it's just a few tens of thousands of dollars, why not do it anyway? But I think if we don't think it's generally feasible, don't just commission a report and give false hope to the squash users. although squash users might argue that keeping the courts is maintaining the status quo, it's not. To keep the squash courts open will require substantial increased costs over what council allocates to squash today. So to decide to keep squash at this late stage would require substantially more money than what is allocated to squash currently. As far as the general feasibility of this, council would have to have the new Oasis and the old Oasis open indefinitely, with just the old Oasis providing the squash courts, and we'd be paying for two Oases in perpetuity. Now, the financial position of this council is that we're already paying $28 million just in interest over the next 5 years. So we do not have $1 to spend on something that we don't think is practically and realistically feasible. The existing Oasis facility is 50 years old, failing mechanically, electrically, fire systems. There would be a substantial amount of money to keep just the squash courts open, and the evidence does not support the retention. So, as has been mentioned, low occupancy comparatively, small user base, and community priorities are changing. So I think it is. I do empathise with the squash users, but we as councillors have to make balanced decisions that benefit all sports across our community, and there's a limited amount of money we can spend. So I think overall, this council has made difficult decisions in the past, things like Dandenong Bowling Club, Dandenong Croquet Club, similar things. If there's deteriorating facilities, shifting memberships, then it would be financially reckless to spend up to $46,000 studying how to keep a 50-year-old building open for just around 100 users, especially when we're redirecting about $60 million away from other capital works just to pay our debts. So for that reason, I commend my motion to the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dan. Seconder.
Thanks very much, Mayor. And I agree with a lot of what Councillor O'Reilly has said. Council awarded the construction contract for the new Wellbeing Centre at the start of last year. And at the time, I thought the report was quite clear in that while the item was specific to awarding a contract for construction, it also had a very clear caveat that the budgeting for that project also accounted for the demolition of the current Oasis building. So my question to the proponents of this feasibility report is that why did it take so long for this issue to be raised in this chamber? Almost 16 months later now, we're being asked to revisit something that was very clearly already part of the endorsed plan. Because at the time that $108 million decision was made, there was no pushback from anyone in this chamber at all about the retention of the squash courts. And I think it raises a fair question then that when councillors voted on that report, who did their due diligence and who decided on their vote for a project worth over $100 million and didn't consider even the possibility of this coming up again in the future? Council is now being put in a position where we're being asked to second guess a decision that we've already made instead of getting on and delivering it. And I expect that one of the arguments we'll hear is that we don't need to rush to any decision, we don't need to decide it today, and instead we can just pause and delay the demolition and work it all out later. But that position doesn't resolve anything at all, Mayor. It introduces uncertainty into a project that actually requires clarity, and this only further adds to risking complications to delivery and cost. The new centre is a once-in-a-generation investment that will serve this community for decades. It has already been shaped through one of the most extensive consultation processes that I've read about on my time on council so far. Now, there were criticisms in previous months that we couldn't even get one person to contribute towards engagement on certain matters before the council, but this one had over 2,400. We heard from swim clubs who used the Oasis pools. We heard from the Table Tennis Association, from Hockey Victoria, the local hockey club. We've heard from the Disability Advisory Committee. We've heard from the Multicultural Committee. We've heard from the Positive Ageing Committee. We heard from the Children's Advisory Group. We even heard from Monash Health, Life Saving Victoria, and the Chisholm Institute. That's the depth of the input that's been put into informing this project. The project is to deliver a modern and a sustainable facility to meet the needs of our growing community and, more importantly, future generations that don't have that voice yet. Spending $46,000 on a report to tell us something we likely already know severely doubts our plan. Now, I sincerely acknowledge and I hear and respect that many squash users will be disappointed to hear this. And if I was in your shoes, I too would feel that hurt and I would feel that deep disappointment. And I understand that you would feel an intense dislike for what I'm saying. But my responsibility is to my tens and thousands of residents and the over 150,000 residents that live in Greater Dandenong. What this project needs now isn't another layer of reconsideration. It needs a council that's clear and disciplined in its approach. We've done the planning, we've done the consultation, we've made the decision. So now it's time for us to see it through and to make it happen.
Thank you. In opposition, Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I stand to strongly oppose this opposition to implementing a feasibility study. It appears that Councillor O'Reilly has based most of his argument on the occupancy data. And I put to you that the figures given to us are very misleading. The report repeatedly relies on an overall occupancy of 13%. However, squash courts are not like swimming pools or gyms that can be continuously occupied all day. A court booking often involves multiple participants. One court booking could, in fact, be for 4 to 8 persons. We are not given individual numbers in this overall figure. On club nights, it can be one booking for more than 8 participants swapping in and out. So to say that, to count only one booking, and then also that data collection was conducted over January where no one is around, that is likely skewed the figures as well. What we should have is data that tells us about the total number of individual participants, not just bookings, the number of unique users, peak time utilisation and court occupancy during traditional squash hours, which are in the evenings. So I put to you that the data is misleading, and if that is what you are basing your opposition on, then you are basing your opposition on a misleading data. Secondly, the report refers to recent advocacy. However, we've had a petition put to us with over 140 residents seeking retention. And also we are told that these are Johnny-come-latelys have only arrived 5 minutes ago, and yet we also know that during the consultation period there was up to 4 or more submissions from the squash participants begging for retention. So apparently we just ignored that. So to say that they are Johnny-come-latelys and there's only a couple of them is false and misleading as well. The consultation relied heavily on data collected in between 2029 and 2021. So we are now up to 7 years beyond that point. That means sometimes we, like with the glass bin, need to reconsider bad decisions. Community expectations have obviously changed, and with our community, and let's be clear, they paid to build this facility, they pay for the upkeep, they will pay for every part of it, but apparently they don't matter. But in terms, if we're going to shut down all our sporting facilities with low participant rates, we actually have to shut down our table tennis, lawn bowls, badminton, and other that have similarly low participant rates. And in fact, the $150 million pool, we only have 20% swimming usage in our municipality.
30 seconds,
And
Councillor.
the point was well made that why is it that you're dedicating $150 million to one sport and these guys have to lose their sport entirely? So not only did you not build them new squash courts, but you're telling them they can't play their sport of choice. So this is arrogant in the extreme. To say that it's going to cost us more money, we haven't done the feasibility test, so you have no idea what the costs are. So you're knocking this out on the presumption that, can I have a minute extension?
Is there
I'll second that.
So you're knocking this out on the basis of perceived results of the feasibility study when you have no idea. The feasibility study could come back and say, actually, it's not going to cost that much at all. But you're going to knock it out anyway on the assumption, the erroneous assumption or the fabricated assumption that this is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That may not be the case. So you are asking these people who love this sport, are dedicated to this sport, are the ratepayers that pay for this facility, that they have to go without the facility because you arrogantly are saying you know what the feasibility report is going to come back with and it's going to be very expensive and we can't afford that, and so you're going to knock this on the head without even doing the work to get the data. So it is an arrogant position not to listen to our residents who are
10 seconds.
who did at the time put in the submissions and beg that they could retain their sporting facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against? Councillor Famoso.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I don't think I've ever been in such agreement with Councillor Garrard before, which is in itself, quite extraordinary. But I can't in good conscience actually sit here and allow this to continue without giving my opinion, my humble opinion, which is basically as a PE and health teacher in this municipality. And one of the main reasons that I chose to come on council was to ensure that our community is fit, healthy, and has the facilities to do that. To be fair, Councillor Dan made a point about that we didn't give the appropriate pushback when we had the opportunity. I went by the information that was given to me, and it's very clear that some of that information may or may not be correct. So I cannot, with my hand on my heart, be able to say that I will not agree to a feasibility study. Is just, I can't possibly do it. To say that the squash court utilisation is low, utilisation data alone does not answer the key strategic question before council. Can all or part of this facility be repurposed, adapted or operated differently to deliver broader community benefit and increase participation in physical activity? And we cannot do that until we do a feasibility study. And, if we look at the proposed expenditure of 32 to 46, that's less than 0.04% of the 122 million that we're investing in this council facility alone. And a feasibility study does not commit council to retaining the facility. We're not saying anything. It simply provides the information required to make an informed decision based on evidence rather than assumption. And I feel that a lot of the information that we've been given thus far has been based on that. I unfortunately wasn't here in 2019 when those decisions were made, but I did agree with the decisions moving forward because of the information that I was given at the time. And like I said, I can't in good conscience endorse this from Councillor O'Reilly. I just think we need to do further investigation, and that's good governance, and that's what we have been elected to do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further speakers for or against? Otherwise, right of reply. Councillor Councillor Milkovich, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'm going to say just briefly that while I understand the desire of the squash court users that the need facility to stay there is real for them, we do have, as Deputy Mayor Dan has outlined, a responsibility to wider community to make sure that our projects are delivered on time and within the budget. The last thing we do need on this council is false hope, extension of the projects, and we all know what happens when we start extending the projects, and I think the proof's in the pudding where a couple of our projects under the previous tenures were left to run over time and well over budget. A project of $122 million capital expenditure like Dandenong Oasis is crucial to be delivered on time and within the budget. Now, you don't need to be a rocket scientist, and it's not based on an assumption to say that we can't financially afford to keep two centres open for a long, long time. In fact, if Oasis was fit for purpose, we wouldn't have been building new Oasis. The fact that visitation is down is due to the fact that it is in a poor state of disrepair. That is why this council has committed. Now, my concern also with some of the comments made was that, okay, this project started and was approved under the previous council in 2019. None of us were councillors back at the time, neither Councillor Garrard, nor Councillor Formosa, nor myself, or Deputy Mayor Dan under the current scheme. But what concerns me is that Mills Reserve Project Advisory Group, which Councillor O'Reilly, Councillor Formosa, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Mehdi, Sophie Tan, Councillor Eden and Angela Long were members at the time, haven't raised any of these concerns in 2021. They just let it sail by. Councillor Formosa also was nothing against Councillor Formosa. She was also a member.
In all fairness, sorry, Councillor Milkovich, we never had a meeting.
That's fine, but you were also an observer, a councillor, a representative on the board of SEL. I'm sure that would have been involved in the conversation as to what has been
Same
happening.
data, yeah, thank you.
Same data, yes. So look, to say in fairness that it's not late to the party, but the fact is that we have a responsibility to a wider resident group to make sure the project's delivered on time and then within the budget, and therefore I am supporting the alternate motion by Councillor O'Reilly. Thank you.
Thank you. So in right of reply, Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I sort of come back to how I started, and that is if council's not convinced that keeping the courts open is generally feasible, then we shouldn't be paying around about $50,000 to find out if it's specifically feasible. And what I'm saying is, based on everything I've heard, I'm not convinced that keeping the courts open in perpetuity, having two Dandenong Oases and all the associated costs with having two Dandenong Oases is justified generally. So for that reason, I'd say to other councillors, we shouldn't then be spending money on another report and like people have mentioned, giving false hope to the squash users, because I think even the squash users have maintained that they think that there should be some reconstruction or repurposing of the courts. They're not saying that the courts should remain as they are. So there's a lot of expenditure that would end up having to happen by having two Dandenong Oases. This council just does not have the money. As I said, $28 million in interest alone over the next 5 years. So councillors that want to add to that debt pile, I don't agree with. And for those reasons, I think for all the arguments put forward, I think that we should really close this off. It's not feasible to keep squash courts open on an old facility. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So now I'm going to go for the votes. So all those in favour for this alternate motion, please raise your hands. Councillor Yim, Deputy Mayor Dan, Councillor Milkovich, and Mayor Tan. Those against, Councillor O'Reilly. Sorry, I'm forgetting you. Councillor O'Reilly. Those against? Councillor Garrard, Councillor Formoso, and Councillor Lay in abstain. So the alternate motion pass. Which way you want to vote, Councillor Lay? For or against? Against. So against we got 3, Councillor Garrard, Councillor Formoso, and Councillor Lay, but it's still passed. We got Councillor Yim, Councillor Dan, Councillor Milkovich, Deputy Mayor Dan, yes, Mayor Tan, and Councillor Raleigh. So we've got 5, 2, 3. The motion passed. Thank you. Right, so item 4.4.5, report on matters discussed at councillor briefing sessions at pre-council meetings. Is there a mover, please?
Happy to move that one, Mayor.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Dan, seconded by Councillor Garrard. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? There's no opposition. The item is carried. Item 4.4.7, CEO employment and remuneration update. Oh, did I miss it? 4.4.6, list of registered correspondence to mayor and councillors. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried.
Thank you, Chair. I, Jackie Weatherall, CEO, wish to declare conflict of interest with the next item on the agenda, item 4.4.7, which is titled the CEO Employment Remuneration Update. The conflict is a material conflict of interest under Section 128 of the Local Government Act 2020. The nature of the conflict arises from my employment relationship, specifically that I am CEO at the City of Greater Dandenong, and this item concerns the CEO Employment and Remuneration Committee, so I'm going to absent myself until the item is finalised. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so item 4.4.7, CEO employment and remuneration update. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Yim, the mover, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dan. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Milkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. Can we ask the relevant officer, what was the estimated cost of the advisor in regards to this particular item? Thank you.
Margin?
Through you, Mayor. Councillor, I believe that you should have received as the confidential information in your pack. And for the personal matters, we didn't put it in the public papers, but you have to receive as an attachment, confidential attachment. I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Any further questions? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Could you please inform the CEO to come back? Okay, so next item is item 5, notice of motion 5.1, notice of motion number 21, public transparency of major projects costs. Councillor O'Reilly, are you the mover on this motion? Is there a seconder?
Yes.
Happy to second it.
Seconded by Councillor Milkovich. Are there any questions on this? No? Is there any opposition? As there's no opposition, the item is carried. Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, just to explain this briefly. So this is making sure that we're all on the same page in terms of capital project costs. So as we know, there's changing environments. We've got construction costs, different interest rates, and what all this motion does in the first part is that for each capital works program project, for example, the new Dandenong Oasis, that we have an updated total cost on the council website, and that's so that we're all across it, including the public, is completely aware of the total cost to council for that particular project. And then at point 4, if and when we can develop a more sophisticated reporting framework, then that will be done as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to the next one. I know it's under Councillor Formoso. Can anyone get her? She's gone? Okay, so it's 5.2, notice of motion number 22, equitable access to council facilities. Is there a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Garrard. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Yim. Are there any questions?
I think just as an idea, given the original mover and drafter of the notice of motion isn't in the chamber at the moment, would a deferral to next month be appropriate as well?
Yeah, I've worked with Councillor Formoso. I'm happy to sponsor this.
Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Is there any opposition? No opposition, then the item is carried. Do you want to speak on this, Councillor Garrard?
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this is to fully understand who we're reaching with our facilities and who we're not. We have had information from various community members that the barriers to using our facilities for certain demographics are high and prohibitive, and preventing them from using our facilities. So this is really encouraging a deep exploration of looking about who we're excluding and how we might titrate our processes, more our processes rather than cost, towards ensuring that the most disadvantaged or the people that perhaps most need our facilities are not being excluded via processes that accidentally may be discriminatory in terms of those with low income, those with low education levels, those with low digital literacy. So this is really trying to understand who we might accidentally be locking out, and once identified, how can we actually turn that around?
Thank you. Right now we're going to go to the next item, which is item 6, reports from councillors, delegate members and councillors' questions. I will start with Councillor O'Reilly. Could you on screen?
Thank you, Mayor. No report this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Milkovich.
No report from me, Mayor, tonight. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Leh.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have some event I go last month. 7th of June, I go to Vietnamese Museum fundraising with Mayor Sophie Tang and MP Eden Foster. That's the VMA Vietnamese Museum is they will be grand opening for end of this year, so it's really good for the fundraising there. They encourage too many people to connect together. A lot of MP in the West area to come to celebrate, to fundraising with us. The other event is 30th of May. I come in our council in Harmony Square for the flash rising ceremony Vietnamese community. That's it. I have no report. No comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Leh. Deputy Mayor Dan.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Look, this week is Refugee Week, and I was honoured to speak at the Southern Migrant and Refugee Centre's celebration just this past weekend. It was a strong and powerful reminder of the role that refugees and migrants play in our community here in Greater Dandenong, not just economically, but the other factors we often undervalue as well, such as the social contributions and the cultural contributions as well. And I can't think of a greater cultural contribution at the moment than the world's greatest event happening at the moment. Mayor, the World Cup's on at the moment, and our Socceroos did us all really proud with a gutsy 2-0 win on Sunday afternoon. And I also acknowledge the heightened significance of that game for members of our Turkish community as well, who wanted both sides to do well. I raise this because just before the tournament started, the Australian players came together to make a very touching video celebrating the team's diversity and their heritage in the face of what we are unfortunately seeing today is the rising tide of anti-migrant sentiment breaking into the mainstream. The video celebrated the players and their families and their journeys to Australia. Our men's national football team, our Socceroos, are a melting pot of cultures. One of our starting strikers on the weekend was born in a refugee camp in Guinea before his family made their way to Australia. We have a defender on our team who was a young boy at the age of 6 when he came here as a refugee following the horrors of conflict in the 1990s in Eastern Europe. And of course, one of our goal scorers, our star boy and one of the most exciting players in the world at the moment, is an Aussie of Burundian roots who was born in a refugee camp in Tanzania. Dandenong's very own Aydin Rustic is in the squad as well, and his heritage is from a Romanian mother and a Bosnian father. Across the 26 players that have been selected to represent our country on the biggest stage, and also headed by a Croatian-Australian coach, you've got backgrounds from everywhere. You've got players with roots from England to Sri Lanka, from Croatia to Kenya, from Turkey to Italy, and it just keeps going and going. Jackson Irvine, one of our vice captains, he actually grew up playing football in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne as well. And before the last World Cup, he said that the Socceroos are the truest representation of what a modern Australia can look like. Social cohesion has been brought up many times before in this chamber, and our Socceroos shows what that can look like in practice. Individuals of all backgrounds, cultures and histories coming together with one unifying thing, all binding them together, which is their shared Australian identity that they represent through our famous green and gold jerseys. For me, football was my first love in life because of what it can do to bring people together. Whether it was in the schoolyard and you've got a newly arrived kid who is given the opportunity to communicate with his peers, or even on the world stage where there have been examples of football bringing people together and literally stopping conflicts. The World Cup, also screened here at our own Harmony Square, is one of the few moments, I think, where people can really come together in a way that no other event has the power to do so. In the current political climate that we're in, the message is more important than ever. And Refugee Week is a reminder that we have to continue to stand against hate and division in our communities because we are stronger together. So I wish Dandenong local, Aydin Rustic and the entire Australian team the best of luck as the tournament continues. Go the Socceroos.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dan. Councillor Formosa?
Thank you, Mayor. It's really fitting for Councillor Dan to be talking all things soccer and football. I'm guessing that everyone has received emails and photos of the facilities at the moment at Lindale United Soccer Club's drainage problem, allocation problem. They have one of the highest level of participation in juniors, females in our municipality, yet as you can see by all of the photos, the condition that these facilities continue to be in. Mayor, I would like you to write a letter, if you could, to our local MP, inviting her to come down and see the facilities now in their finest form. And see what we could do in terms of advocating a little bit further and pushing a little bit more for the appropriate facilities that this club and our community deserves. It's quite appalling, and to think that here we are glorifying and discussing how amazing football is, yet we aren't even looking after our own right here in our own backyard the way that we should be to be able to promote sport and increase sporting participation. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Secondly, my apologies, I wasn't here for my notice of motion, so thank you to all of you that put that through. It was obviously a very important motion just in relation to understanding how our community has fair and access that's equitable in our municipalities. So it's very important for all the reasons that I'm sure my colleagues would have mentioned, hence why it was passed. But I've been getting a lot of, the reason for the notice of motion is just that I've been getting a lot of feedback from residents and community groups, local organisations, just stressing how difficult it is for them to access these council facilities, book council facilities, ascertain funding for the increased fees and other issues that have come along with it, which is things like having 2 security guards at, a local event that's not even serving alcohol or is at night. It's a day event. So there's been some parameters that has prevented people from being able to access our community groups facilities. So it was really imperative for us to review these barriers and to really see if it's being managed the way that it should be. And once again, our community deserves better. They're the ones that are paying for these facilities to even exist and to operate. So it's only fair that we allow them the opportunity to be able to use these facilities with full transparency. So thank you to everyone that has put that in motion through. Next thing, Mayor, is I'm getting a lot of complaints yet again in relation to Browns Road and Police Road intersection. We have a bit of a situation where one of the power poles on the corner, and if Martin Holden hears me mentioning this one more time, he won't have very nice words to say. We have been told that this post is getting hit probably daily. The last one that occurred, that was quite severe, where a semi-trailer collected 2 of the poles on the corner and it just missed landing on the house, was a few weeks ago. And that resulted in the community not having access to electricity for several hours. So the question is, what are we doing about this horrendous intersection? I understand it's state road and facilities, utilities, but if we could write some sort of letter to the Roads Safety Minister, I think it's Ros Spence at the moment, asking about what they propose to do for this really dangerous intersection and this pole that constantly gets hit by semi-trailers and alike. That's all from me, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Formosa. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to start by saying it's good to hear that the Capital Alliance work is about to commence in July. I understand the demolition works will start in July and remove the buildings from Thomas to Mason and Foster to the other side. So after many years of planning, it is good to see that there will be visible works actually happening. My next point is that I have been contacted by the principal of the Dandenong North Primary School, and I will forward the letter. There are multiple issues identified, but in short, the Dandenong North School is uniquely placed in a very high trafficked area. It has a hospital, a senior secondary school, and a shopping strip adjacent, and so it has unique needs in terms of parking. The principal has requested that, if possible, that myself, an officer from the council, and the principal are able to sit down and look at some ways to extend some parking times and limit some other parking times that just might alter the flow so that it is more safe, because we do have very small children trying to negotiate a very high trafficked area. So if we could arrange a meeting between 3 parties, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. My second, just asking for 2 confirmation questions, and whomever wishes to respond, I'm happy for that. I would like to thank the CEO and our head of governance and the Mayor for a very fruitful meeting. I thought was a very productive meeting in relation to the request by the Dandenong Market that I be removed as the councillor representative. Are either of you happy to confirm that it is not the council's position that I be removed, that it is not the council's position to endorse the false assertions made by the chair of the council, and therefore I will not be removed as the councillor representative for raising issues, important issues that are relevant to our community.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. A formal response will be given to you in due course. So we are considering all the matters we discussed, and we will confirm the outcome of the conversation.
So my understanding of the outcome was that it's a council's position that I'm not removed. Is that correct?
There's advice, yes, that you can't, well, it's not recommended that you be removed according to our current rules, but we will send you formal correspondence and articulating next steps as well.
Thank you. And can you also confirm that there were significant governance gaps identified within the relationship and the processes between the council and the market board?
Through you, Mayor, I do confirm that we are reviewing our governance arrangements with the relationship with the board and more broadly in council, so we will uplift those so they mimic best practice.
Thank you so much. And lastly, I am not a sport person. You never hear me talk about sport, but I am a bit excited about the soccer, and I do surprisingly join in and support what Councillor Dan has said. It was good news for Australia to win the soccer. It is a little bit exciting. It only happens every 4 years, I understand, and it really, the multicultural mix of that team I thought was extraordinary, and I was pretty excited about it. So support you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Yim.
Thank you, Mayor. On Saturday, the 23rd of May, I had the privilege to attend a Bengali and Indian cultural evening hosted by Ankoshruti Inc. on behalf of yourself, Madam Mayor. I was able to witness the musical drama Sagina Mahato, portraying the labour movement of 1942 to 1943 in northeast India. All actors were extremely passionate and the story was well portrayed, despite my lack of understanding of the Bengali language. I was given a program of the musical drama in English that provided an extremely helpful summary of each scene. It was wonderful to be included in such a beautiful night where many of our community members showed up to celebrate and embrace one of our many cultures. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Yim. CEO Jackie Vera, do you have something for me today?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very pleased to hand over to you as Mayor and to the Council that the City of Greater Dandenong was successful in an Excellence Award for the Planning Institute of Australia. So we won a national award in the Technology and Digital Innovation category for our Advancing AI Innovation in Local Government project that we submitted in conjunction with the Municipal Association and Portable. And it's been a great initiative and we're very proud of it. So this is for you. Thank you.
One more.
Peter, one more with you. Margin, do you want to? Just quickly, we just have quick photo.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations to all the staff who are involved. I'm going to put this in my office. Thank you. I also been very, very busy as usual since last council meeting. Been attended a lot of events. So some of them, which is last month about National Volunteer Week celebration. We do our volunteer weeks usually for our council volunteers. We got more than 100 volunteers, which is in different fields, different categories. So Meals on Wheels, libraries, for example. We've got a volunteer who's been working here for over 33 years. So I just want to say congratulations to all our volunteers. We do this high tea celebration once a year. Last month alone, we celebrated citizenships, welcome 600 new citizens in Greater Dandenong. It's always a great privilege as mayor to be presiding for our new citizens. It's growing every month, so just want to congratulate all our staff as well for their hard work, organising citizenships all the time. We also have a Greater Dandenong Council Reconciliation Week last month, which is this year theme, which is All In events, and we also adopted the Council Rep launch event at the same time. So I just want to say congratulations to our staff and all the committees that work on the launch. I also attended the Bendigo Bank Community Grants Evening. That's Bendigo Bank is part of community. They donated a lot of money since they started. I think 2021 now close to 7 million, supporting to different sports clubs, our community non-profit organisations, Scouts group. So they also support council event as well. So I just want to say congratulations to them, close to 7 million already. I also attended the Italian Republic Fest, which is hosted by the Belvedere Aged Care. Had also annual flag raising ceremony hosted by the Vietnamese Community Australia Victoria Chapter. Annual Scottish Heritage, as we are the most multicultural city here, so we celebrate all different group, different nationality, different culture. Also had the Dandenong Ordinaries Committee meeting and Greater Dandenong Youth Leaders representation to councillors, and I did attend the fundraising with Councillor Lê and Councillor Loy as well for the Vietnamese Museum. They'll be officially opening in October. And we're all welcome to attend as well as Greater Dandenong Council. Lastly, I attended the official opening of the Skill Invest in Dandenong South. So Skill Invest been established for over 42 years. So they help, right now they've got the program supporting over 550 students, apprentices working closely with local industry. So that's a great way, especially in Dandenong, Dandenong South, as a great Dandenong across the schools in Dandenong, which is help the high school kids, children, students to get ready for job ready. Also, I just want to announce, because early July, we will open our employment hub here as well in Greater Dandenong, which is one of the initiatives that we've contribute from the federal government. We've received 1.5 million for this project. So I'm happy to officially open this early July. I will inform everyone as well for next month. And lastly, we had our local crime listening forum with the Minister, Gabrielle Williams MP, the Minister for Infrastructure and Sports, and Anthony Carbons, the Minister for Police, our local police, Cameron Prince and Vic Pole, as well as Thomas Traders here as well. So great initiative from the government. We're pretty much here to listen to what the traders are telling us, especially on Thomas Street, what we can do moving forward to work closely with police to reduce crime, especially in regarding to safety, regarding to CCTV and lighting, mental health issue, and also family violence, as well as homelessness. So that's all from me. Thank you. And Ms. Farrell, do you have a table questions on notice from last council meeting?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. So now we're going to go to the next item, which is 7, urgent business. As we don't have any urgent business, go to the next item, which is item 8, close of business. I declare the meeting closed at 9:11 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for attending. Have a great evening.